Was soll das heißen? Sie können Feigeland nicht finden. Dann suchen Sie ihn! Ich will Feigeland sehen! Sofort!
The Dictator. Okay, so The Dictator is the next of Sacha Baron Cohen's quite controversial films following on from Borat and Bruno, and it stars himself playing the dictator, as it says on the case. And as you might guess, it's about a dictator in a different country who comes to America to try and convince the United Nations that he's not building nuclear missiles. And from there, a secret plot ensures, which results in him losing his beard and having to cope in the real world, as nobody recognises who he is. Now, unlike the other Sacha Baron Cohen films, this is not really a mockumentary. Borat and Bruno had this unique style where it was kind of a documentary while still being a film at the same time. The Dictator is just a straight up film. And from the trailer you can see that it's going to be quite offensive, and that might be a problem to some people. But the fact is, it's not really offensive. It's actually got quite a sweet nature to it at times, and it's quite soft. And in fact the most offensive parts of the movie are in the trailer. And with that, the best parts of the movie are in the trailer, and that means it's not actually that very funny at all. And the reason it's not very funny is because it focuses too much on sexual jokes. A good 60% of the jokes are to do with sex and sexual innuendos, whereas it's not been billed as the film you thought it would be, which is where it's offending different races, people, and events that have happened, such as 9/11 and stuff like that. And when it is offensive, it is really strong as a comedy at times. I mean, it takes the mick out of quite a lot of events, not just American events like 9/11, but there's also references to London bombings, etc, etc. But it's nowhere near as good as other controversial films. I mean, there's a really good British comedy called In the Loop, which is about the upcoming of a war and how political parties and governments respond to it.
This is the problem. Civilians wanting to go to war. Once you've been there, you never want to go again unless you absolutely have to. It's like France.
Then there's also the classic and iconic Dr. Strangelove, which now isn't very controversial, but at the time when missiles were a threat and panicking everyone, it was really controversial and managed to balance the controversy of that matter quite well. And like I said, it works better when it's offending different people. It's actually more funnier and stronger that way. So without many laughs, you'd hope that the plot was quite strong, but actually the plot's quite a conventional and basic plot. From the first 10 minutes you can probably point out where the film's going to go in what direction and how the characters will be at the end of the film from what they were at the beginning. And there's a lot of wasted acting talent here. I mean, there's stuff like Ben Kingsley and John C. Reilly, who I love, who are just not used to their full potential. Another big problem I had as well is it treats the audience at times like they're stupid. I mean, I understand it's a mainstream movie, but you don't need to keep explaining the plot. I mean, characters come in and they literally just explain what's happened and what they're going to do. And this happens every 5 and 10 minutes. And along with that, with some of the jokes, which are not good-natured and not very humorous, you kind of feel like they're just forcing it too much. And by the end of the film, you feel like it's trying too hard, and you can't really get into it, because there's no plot to latch onto, there's no consistent comedy, the characters aren't particularly interesting, and they're very one-dimensional. It's just not that great compared to other films out there. With all that said, I'm going to give The Dictator 2 out of 5. I mean, check out other films like In the Loop, or even In Bruges. In Bruges is a great example of how to do some controversial humour and still have a consistent and deep plot. And as usual, if you want to subscribe, just click right here to subscribe.
On your marks, get set!